everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Media Picker. My name is Brandon. If you're new here, I am a part-time eBay and Mercari reseller that does specialize in media-related products such as CDs, DVDs, and cassette tapes. If it's something you're interested in learning about, please consider subscribing to the channel. Greatly appreciate it. A little impromptu video. Hope the lighting is okay. I didn't feel like turning on my other light in this room, so I'm just kind of using the office light I use for work, and just kind of flipped it up to give some kind of reflection. So I think you guys can see me okay. Anyway, little impromptu video. When shit hits the fan with eBay, it hits the fan and it comes in bunches. So I've got a couple things I'm going to go over. Tell you how I'm going to probably, or how I handled one and how I'm going to probably handle the other one. I probably shouldn't do this. I have not decided what I'm going to do yet. The buyer has not reached back out to me to give me an update. I'll wait and see. I'm curious what you guys would do in this situation also. I'm also thinking this is being recorded around the Christmas time, so it's like, time of giving and forgiveness and so on and so forth and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started here. So the first thing we have up is a item not received case. Now, generally speaking, if it shows delivered, which in this case it actually does, eBay will back the seller and not refund the buyer. So the buyer does not get refunded from my money or eBay's, is what they told me. So basically, if the buyer, and we know the post office can make mistakes. I've seen them firsthand. But we know if that happens and it truly is a mistake and it's delivered and it really isn't, then the buyer's screwed. And I don't like that either necessarily. But I get it a lot because there are a ton of scammers out there trying to pull this stuff. Anyway, let me go into the case. I'll kind of tell you where it's at right now, what's going on, and what I might do. It's not a lot of money, so we'll see. Anyway, let me share my screen here. So, I gotta get into it. So it's 2 CDs warrant. The buyer said that it has not arrived. It shows delivered. Tracking shows delivered. Into the mailbox. Again, there could be people stealing stuff. It could be the neighbor's mailbox that got sent to. So the buyer actually was going to check. So let's go to the details of the case here, because I don't remember totally. And history is what I want to see. So if we go into the history and go to the beginning, buyer said, just a heads up, tracking says it was delivered, but no package anywhere. I'll go to the post office tomorrow. If it doesn't show up, thanks in advance. Hope it shows up. So I don't know if he got it yet or not, because it shows delivered. So it's not going to update any further on mine. I'm not going to know anything until the buyer actually replies to this. Anyway, so I just did a general reply. I said, sorry, your package didn't arrive. Definitely check with the post office. They should be able to track and able to check by GPS tracking the exact location the package was delivered to. So that was my suggestion. He says, yep, I'll go there and have them do a GPS. We'll let you know how it goes. I've not heard from the buyer yet. This is like literally a $10, I think it's like $13 sale with the shipping on. So it wasn't a whole lot of money. I've checked the buyer feedback. I've looked at his feedback left previously. There have been 0 issues with this account in any way, shape, or form as feedback being left on the actual buyer side by sellers and buyer leaving feedback for the seller. There's been no issues. So I honestly think that this actually could be a case where USPS screwed up and it didn't get delivered, but shows delivered. As we know, also, the USPS can also delay stuff. It can show delivered one day, not show up till a day, 2 days, 3 days later, especially this time of year. It's possible. So at this point, I'm obviously going to wait and see what the buyer does. I technically don't have to refund the buyer in any way, shape, or form. I've actually already contacted eBay about that. And basically what I just said, hey, here's the case number. Tracking states that this is, I'll read what I told him. Tracking states that it was delivered to the mailbox. I upload tracking info on the case. Buyer's also aware, states they didn't get it. So I truly believe the buyer didn't get in this case, seeing their previous feedback. He's going to the post office to talk to them, see if they can determine via their GPS exact location. That said, so I'm assuming, obviously, I won't need to read them, which I already knew that, but I always like to double check this stuff with eBay and Facebook. And then I said, assuming there's nothing more to do on my end, the buyer comes back to me and says they didn't still receive it. What should I tell them? So I'm also just curious with cases like this where the money doesn't come from the seller, does it get a refund issued back to the buyer from eBay? So also, if for some reason the buyer does not get it, and does a chargeback, am I protected? I'm kind of curious in that aspect. I think I've only had one chargeback ever done in my entire life in doing this. And as of recording this video, I actually just finally broke 10,000 sales. And that's just in under 5 years. Again, doing this part-time. So anyway, that's kind of a cool side note. So eBay then responds back and says, yeah, his tracking confirms delivery. You're fully protected. They said, yeah, case was just opened up that today, which is actually, it was yesterday. They said even if a buyer escalates it before you do, the case will be closed against them. They will not be refunded by you or by eBay. You will be fully protected in this case against any defects or feedback. And they said, I believe you will also be protected against any chargebacks if they do open a payment dispute. So unfortunately, we can't assist with that. Here's a link that can help with that. I can point you in the right direction. And that was pretty much it as far as that went. But so I don't think that, again, I still may refund the buyer anyway, depending on what he says. I truly believe the buyer in this case, I'm not really out anything. Basically, this just becomes a write-off the cost of goods. And this goes as a refund. So I have to make sure I log that for a spreadsheet to show my refunds and cancellations and stuff, because eBay doesn't count that in the 1099, and make sure I get credit for that as part of my write-off. But anyway, that's kind of where my thought is with this one. This wasn't my only issue. Like I said, when shit hits the fan, it hits it hard. So the next thing that happened, which happened today, the day I'm recording this, and you're going to probably see this in a day or two of me recording this. This is being recorded on November 20th. You'll see this within a few days. I'm going to schedule it out. I still got to do a thumbnail and everything. But anyway, so this next case, let me share the screen. Open return case. So what I did in this case is I ended up just I refunded the buyer. There's no point in having them return something that's broken. I'm not going to want to pay shipping on broken. I can't resell it. It's 2 CDs. Again, not a lot of money here. I'm going to open up our screen and find out what the actual total was. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you exactly how much they got refunded. They were refunded a whopping $11.66. So, again, not a lot of money. He sent a picture. Let's see if I can pull up the details here. And I questioned it at first for a split second. It said arrived damage. Okay, first of all, how I pack these, I don't always use cardboard. Why is it showing here? There's the picture. Okay, so I don't always use cardboard. I do have more expensive CDs, but these things get bubble wrapped. I put a little piece of like foam in between the two discs, and they bubble wrap the case. The cases are bubble wrapped. They're brand new jewel cases. And then it gets put in a bubble mailer on top of it. So basically, it's double bubble protected. This is only the second time ever out of 10,000 sales, mind you, that something like this has actually ever happened. The only thing I can think of is the pressure. Maybe it just dropped and hit a certain point. Maybe the guys were just tossing it around like a freaking Frisbee. Or it got something, 100-pound, 200-pound item got placed on top of it. It's quite possible, because we know how good the USPS is at taking care of our packages, right? So as you can see, obviously, this is cracked. Now I'm like, wait a second, doesn't necessarily look right. So I went and looked at my pictures just to kind of see, and this is the jewel case for one of the artwork. This is the back cover artwork for one of the CDs I sold, and this is the front cover artwork. So I'm like, okay. Now, could the buyer be doing like an old switcheroo, and this is to replace their crack? See, it's probably possible, but I'm not going to dispute and have them ship me back a CD at my cost, being shipped via Ground Advantage, mind you. So it'll be like a $5 loss there on top of it for $11 CD. So I just refunded the buyer. Return case was closed. This is obviously the artwork and everything is exactly my CD. Now the buyer could have had another copy and is replacing this and pulling a scam. But again, buyer feedback. Wasn't a whole lot. There was a couple of negatives the buyer had left for sellers regarding like scratched discs and all this and that. So I'm curious if I'll see a negative. If I do, I'm going to probably try and dispute with eBay, because the buyer was refunded in full virtually instantly from once I actually looked at it. Within an hour of me receiving the request, the buyer was fully refunded. So I would assume eBay could probably remove that if a feedback was left. So I don't have one left on that yet at this point. There was another case that I'm not going to show any screenshots of. I thought it was kind of interesting too. That happened recently within the last couple of days, where a buyer circumvented a block I put on them. So they bought a CD, and I declined their offer because I was already the lowest on eBay. And then I blocked that buyer because it was an extremely low ball offer. So then that buyer decided to go ahead and let me get this off the screen here. So that buyer decided to go ahead and then create a brand new account, which I thought was kind of odd. I'm like, why'd this sell within a couple hours? Same thing. Just a harder to find blue CD, but it was cheap because of the condition it was in. It was not in great condition, but it was still sellable, still playable. And so I was by far by $10 cheapest on eBay. And so then I bought at the price it was on sale for. And so I'm like, I remember the offer coming from Florida, and this is going to Florida. So I sent a little message to eBay and asked them to confirm on whether this was the same buyer. Now, let me go to that eBay case because that one is actually pretty interesting. This literally just happened the other day. So I said, I recently received an offer from buyer name, blah, blah, blah. I declined that offer after looking at their feedback they had left for ourselves. They left a bunch of negatives. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this buyer. I said, with the CD having a decent amount of perfection, I figured this could be an issue. I said, remember the buyer being from Florida. So I just now sold that CD to a new buyer under a different name, but it seems odd the CD sold within a few hours from another eBay buyer. So I'm pretty sure it's the same buyer, at least from the same town or possibly IP. Can you look into this? If it's the same buyer, they circumvented my block and still purchased it anyways, which I believe is against eBay policy. If that's the case, I would not like to sell the CD to them. Let me know. Thanks. So eBay replied and said, due to privacy regulations, we cannot confirm if those buyers are the same, but yet they still kind of confirmed it in this message, and I'll explain. It says, however, I'd be happy to look on my end and get them reported if they are. So they said, I also did message the buyer this morning to confirm that they're aware of the condition, but they haven't replied yet. She said, yeah, that's the right thing to do. In this case, given the concern of these two users being the same, the best option, so it was the same user. So they couldn't tell me that due to privacy, but yet they did tell me that. So the best option would be to cancel under the issue with buyer's address reason. So are you familiar with cancellation? I said, yeah, I'm familiar with that, unfortunately. I just want to make sure it doesn't affect my account in any way. If negative feedback is left, will it be removed? They said, no, you will not get a defect. Given concern of the users being the same, you will be protected from the negative feedback. If they were to leave you one, you just need to contact us to remove it. And that was pretty much the gist of that one. But when it rains, it pours. This has been within the last 3 days. I've had something each freaking day. So, like I said, shit hits the fan with eBay. Let me know if you guys are having any issues with anything. Kind of curious to see how things are going on your guys' end. But that's all I got. If you get anything out of this, please subscribe to the channel. Click the like button, which also does help me out. And then click the bell for future notifications of other videos just like this. And feel free to tell me your horror stories with eBay and buyers in the chat. Kind of curious. And that's it. See you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody.